Today, I'm going to be answering and responding to your comments. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name's Taylor, and if you're new here, I do all sorts of guitar-related stuff here on my channel. If that's something you enjoy, make sure to subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of my uploads, and go ahead and tap that little like button while you're down there. So this is something new that I've wanted to do for a long time, and to be honest with you, I've just never had enough comments up until recently to make a video like this. With all that being said, if you have any comments or questions, leave them down below, and maybe I'll make another video like this again. I'd like to do something like this weekly, so yeah, make sure to drop a comment or a question if you have one. And let's get to it. I think you can save one block by using the noise gate that's in the general settings. This is a comment about the HX Stomp video that I did a while back, and there's actually a noise gate built into the input settings on the HX Stomp. Very similar to the noise gate that's built into the input on the Axe FX3. At the time I shot the video, I didn't know this, but I figured it out like almost immediately after I shot the video. But I would still use a noise gate in the chain anyways. Usually when I set up high gain tones, I have a noise gate directly after the input, and then I have a noise gate after all of my, overdrive pedals or whatever I'm boosting the amp with, or compressors or whatever I'm running in front of the amp. I put a noise gate directly in front of the amp input, and that just kind of tightens things up. I find a lot of times it's really hard to dial in just one noise gate and to get it to cut where you want it to. In my experience, what happens a lot of the time is you don't dial it in enough and some stuff slips through, or you dial it in too much and it ends up killing your tone a little bit. So the best solution that I found that works for me is just to put one in, dial it in enough to where you're not killing your tone, but some of that stuff's slipping through, and then you put one in directly in front of the amp, and you just use that one to catch whatever gets through. And then you usually end up getting a really tight noise gate, which is really good for like fast palm muting parts and stuff like that. Maybe I should go back and make another video on the HX Stomp and how I actually set up like a live patch or something like that. If that's something you guys want to see, let me know. Best channel about metal related gear. Thank you so much for that comment. It's super humbling. In my opinion, I'm not the best channel about metal related gear by a long shot, but I do my best to make videos that I think people would enjoy and to try and bring you guys like some sort of value, whether that's informative or entertainment. Maybe you just like watching me be a tool. Whatever it is, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm glad you enjoy it, and right back at you. This is horrible. I mean, you can't win them all, I guess. Hey man, nice video, nice tones. The Hedgehog D9 is actually a Maxon SD9 sonic distortion instead of the TS9. All right, this is from my HX Stomp video again. Thanks for pointing that out. I wasn't really sure, I was just totally guessing based off that little itty bitty tiny picture that was on there. And it just looked similar to my Tube Screamer, so I thought that might be what it was, but yeah, if it's a Maxon, cool. I've actually never played a Maxon pedal, surprisingly, because, over the last 15 years, I've heard so many guitarists tell me that like, oh, they're the best, you gotta get one, and I've always been happy with my Tube Screamers, so I just never bothered to get one. But again, thanks for pointing that out, appreciate the comment. Would you consider doing a video about drop tuning with the HX Stomp / Helix? Thanks, keep up the great work. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do a video like that. I actually want to do more videos with the HX Stomp, so if there's specific stuff you guys want to see with the HX Stomp, let me know in the comments and I'll put something together. Maybe I could tie this into that live patch video. You don't need to use block for input noise gate. This beautiful little thing have noise gate at the start before the blocks. Just click that icon with guitar that is very first at the chain. Great video, by the way. I'm more than happy with mine as well. Winky smiley face. Alright, so this is another comment on the HX Stomp video, and yeah, I already addressed the input noise gate thing, but thank you anyways for watching, and thank you so much for your comment. Okay, this comment's from Hulk Hogan. Holy shit, I don't think it's the real Hulk Hogan, but how tight would that be if it was the real Hulk Hogan, right? This video totally sold me. Appreciate it. I also found it funny how you're the friendliest guy ever and then ripped into the most brutal ass track ever, LOL. Thank you so much for that comment, that really means a lot to me. This comment's actually in regard to a video that I made on the Cymatic Audio LP16. Yeah, it's a really awesome unit, and if you haven't seen that video, check it out. Especially if you want to be using backing tracks live. I think it's actually one of the best products to come out in recent memory, and I get a ton of use out of it. My band uses it live. It also does all my scene switching, all my Axe effects. It's just really, really awesome, and if you haven't heard about it, yeah, I highly suggest you check it out, especially if you want to be using backing tracks. Hell yeah, brother! This guy comes off as a bit arrogant. Sorry, I just call it as I see it. I don't know what to tell you about that one. I guess my personality could be considered arrogant. I think I'm probably more ignorant about a lot of things than I am arrogant. I always think it's funny when people say things like, I just call it like I see it. Like, what an egotistical, self-serving thing to say. I just call it like I see it. Anyways, sorry you don't like me, but thanks anyways for your comment. The little 3x3 white squares next to the red amp CAD is a button that will make those icons a bit bigger. Comment on the HX Stomp again. So in the software, there's like a little grid looking button that you can hit, and it will actually open up those little icons and make them a little bit bigger. And it actually really is helpful if you're trying to select things, you know, visually by seeing what they are. But maybe my eyesight's just failing. They're still so small and so hard to see. But I think it would be really cool if there was like an update to the software that would show the icons large enough so that you can actually visually select what amplifier or cabinet or pedal, etc., you'd want to use. The Ampero editor actually does this, and it's like one of my favorite things about that software is that it actually shows the little icons and then gives you a brief description off the history of the gear and what it's modeling. And in my opinion, it's one of the coolest features of the Ampero software. So on the back, it has its built-in cab sim for both outputs. Cool, but question, what kind of cab/speaker does it emulate? Sheepdog, thanks so much for the comment. This comment was on my video about the Power Stage 700. I have no idea what cabinets they're emulating. To be honest with you, I didn't think the cab emulation was very good, and I don't see myself having much use for it, especially when I can just route out cabinet impulse directly from my Axe effects and use that instead. I do think it's really cool that Seymour Duncan included this feature in there, but I don't find it super useful for myself. I'll have to try that feature again next time I use it to power a cabinet and maybe just like A/B the actual cabinet with the cab IR. In all fairness, when I demoed the Power Stage 700, I think I was having issues with the output level on my Ampero, and it was causing like some clipping or some distortion, and that might have made the cab IR sound, you know, a lot worse. So it'd probably be worth going back and taking a second look at. All right, thank you for the comment. Moving on. How much sound difference is from the UK vintage 30s being broken in from hours and hours of playing time? Hey Lars, that's a great question. To answer it, I really have no idea. This comment was on the video that I made comparing the stock speakers from a Harley Benton cabinet to the speakers that come in a Mesa oversized cabinet. The stock speakers in the Harley Benton are Chinese-made vintage 30s, and the speakers that are in the Mesa cabinet are UK-made vintage 30s. And it's a totally great question. If you dive into forums on the subject of how long it takes to break in a speaker, or whether or not breaking in a speaker is actually a real thing, you find all sorts of stuff. I mean, you can find all sorts of answers and opinions on what constitutes a broken in speaker and how you can tell when a speaker is actually broken in. And so yeah, I really don't know, and only time will tell. And I think it's just one of those things that I'm just gonna have to revisit you know, down the road after I've played on that stock Harley Benton cabinet for quite a while, and you know, just see if the sound changed at all. I mean, just to be honest with you, I have no idea. I can't tell any difference from the day I bought it to playing it now. I mean, if it's breaking in, it'll be a shock to me to sit down and listen to it and compare it to what it sounded like when I first bought it. I made it to 430, then I realized this guy is another effing drop-tuned djent-er. I'm out. So I don't remember where this comment came from. It's either from an Axe Effects video or a shootout video or something like that. But yeah, I thought it was kind of funny because like Djent and Periphery and, you know, Misha Mansour are kind of what blew up modeling, at least among myself and my friends. I guess I write some riffs that could be like djenty, but I consider myself more of like just a metal guitar player. So to me, it's always interesting when people chime in and consider my guitar playing djent or, you know, really anything. I don't know, I just consider it metal. But, you know, to each their own. And also, I just want to point out that like 90% of the time, I'm actually in standard tuning. So, sorry you didn't like it. Thanks anyways for the comment. Moving on. I have been using this pedal since 2015, and today I get to know from you that I can put a battery in it. LOL. I love this comment so much because this comment's actually in relation to a Behringer pedal video that I did. And I didn't know for the longest time that you could actually put batteries in them. And I got so many comments telling me that, yeah, you can put a battery in it. So I'm really glad that I can pay forward that information. And yeah, thanks for the comment. I don't know how long you have been playing, but you need to work on your palm muting technique a little. The EMG pickups are very unforgiving in that sense. Okay, I don't know the tone of this comment. It's really hard to tell if this person's just trying to be helpful or if they're being snarky, but I've been playing guitar for a really long time, and I think this is the first time in my life I've ever had someone tell me that I need to work on my palm muting technique, so I appreciate that. Thanks. My grandma uses this pedal in her all-female death metal band. Dude, you can't leave a comment like that and not drop a link to the band. I think that's the most brutal thing I've ever heard in my life. For $35, how do you think it compares to something like the Moore modeling preamps? Assuming you have a cab power solution live, could you see yourself using it in a pinch? CC Potato, thanks so much for the question. He is talking about one of the Behringer pedals. I think this comment was on a TM300 video that I did. How do I think it stacks up against a Moore micro preamp? I think the Moore micro preamps sound much better, and more importantly, the Moore micro preamps feel more like a real amp. The TM300 feels a lot flatter, and it just feels more like a distortion pedal as opposed to like an amp modeler. But if I was in a pinch and I had to use one, yeah, I definitely use one live. I think you could probably get away with it. And for $35, I mean, that's a super cheap backup rig, assuming that you have a power amp and a cabinet. What do you think of Lamb of God? It would be very cool if you could do a sound like. Dude, thank you so much for this comment. I actually love Lamb of God. I remember buying As the Palaces Burn when it came out, and that thing was on rotation in my car for months. I mean, come to think of it, that album probably really influenced my guitar playing in a very subconscious way. And I remember I was very young, I like just got out of high school or something like that, and it was really one of the first bands that I listened to that just didn't fall into like a nu metal category at all. Most of the metal that I had listened to up to that point could fall into like a nu metal category. So yeah, Lamb of God was really one of the first bands that I listened to that was really just like a all-American modern metal band. And I love the idea to do a sound like video on Lamb of God. I'll definitely be doing that one in the future, so keep an eye out for it. Alright guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for all your comments and questions. I really appreciate all of you tuning in and commenting on my videos. It's really super humbling, and I really enjoy engaging with you guys in the comments section, so let's keep doing that. And I really think that the vast majority of comments and questions that I get are like super insightful and informative and really valuable. And I really appreciate that you guys take the time to watch and comment on my videos. So thanks again so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye.